All I gotta say is RFK Jr. has got some cojones for coming out and running for president after his whole family got offed for saying the same he's saying now. I think he's got some balls.
So, did you guys hear that Carlson Tucker?
Is that his name? It happens 3 times?
Tucker Carlson.
Carlson Tucker guy.
Was fired from Fox News.
I remember.
He got fired, but they're not really saying. Not really saying.
What do you think is the reason why?
Wait, wasn't it? Oh yeah, they didn't say why, but then they're saying like, oh, it's because of racism or something.
Right? So they fire him. They don't
Against
really say
him.
There's no statement about from Fox except we thank him for his time with us. Like deuces out.
I thought it was over that Dominion stuff.
Well, that's what is being like inferred, right? So Fox gets sued by Dominion.
Yeah.
They do a settlement for like $800 million or some shit like that.
Crazy amount, yeah.
And then Fox is trying to clean house inside clean house inside their ranks. But then Tucker wasn't really saying anything about Dominion. It was a couple other Fox stars who were talking about it. They got rid of one of them named Dan Bongino. And but Tucker was saying at the time that there was no proof about any of that stuff. He actually called out this lawyer who was saying like her name's Sidney Powell, and she was saying like all this stuff about Dominion, all this stuff about voting machines being rigged and stuff. And Tucker was basically calling her out saying, hey, come prove it on my show. I'll give you the full fucking week on my show. Come prove it. And she hasn't proved anything. So he called her out saying that. And that pissed off a lot of Trump people during when all that stuff was going down.
Sure, yeah.
So that's what people are saying. Like, I don't know that Tucker was out there saying, fuck Dominion, they definitely were cheating and stuff. So people are now inferring based on these releases like Joe's talking about, they're trying to like, Fox is leaking stuff to try to destroy his reputation to basically get their viewership back because they've lost a lot.
I mean, isn't it interesting that they're like people are like other news outlets are all trying to smear his reputation with the whole like, oh, how he's treating his wife that's pregnant, and then there was like
oh, that's Steven Crowder.
Oh, that's Crowder. Yeah.
Talk about that too, though.
No, but there was another smear thing that was it the racist text?
Yeah, well, he was saying there was a text about how that's not how white people fight.
How do white people fight?
Right, and then at the end of it, if you read the whole text, it was like at the very end of it, it was like he was showing concern, and it wasn't really that racist at all. I actually made him look good.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people who obviously got pissed about that.
Shot boy.
A lot of people got pissed about that anyway, but it wasn't like Joe's saying. There's people who are like, I read the text, I don't think that's racist, and there's people who are like, I think it is. So it's up to people, I guess.
I mean, Tucker was just basically a dude who was kind of actually reporting the news, right? Like kind of the truth of things. And so that probably just didn't sit well with.
He just challenged the status quo.
Yeah.
He was definitely challenging a lot of the war stuff and a lot of the big pharma stuff.
What I don't understand isn't he Fox right now? Why is people watching Fox? Like without him, Fox is just gonna die.
That's why they like lost all their viewership.
What if they pick up Don Lemon, yo? That'd be a tight move.
Don Lemon was fired on the same day. No one gave a fuck.
So that's why they got to do a switcheroo, dude. They gotta get some.
It'll take so much time to build up another Tucker, though.
But I don't think Don Lemon was very likable. Like, he was popular, but I don't know how much of a following he had, because no one said, like, oh my God, we're gonna miss you. Tucker was like, he had fans from the right and the left.
Tucker also, or was it Trump? It was Tucker or Trump, but they called Don Lemon the dumbest man on television.
It's pretty funny, man.
Such a good roast.
Next to like so many other people, he's the dumbest.
I mean, there's like reality TV stars out there. Like that is a fucking savage hit.
Also, when Tucker did that one podcast, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Nelk Boys.
Yeah, where he's literally talking about how he spent most of his life, being a part of the establishment, being part of the mainstream media narrative, and then now is fully regretting, you know what I mean, taking those sides.
He regrets
playing a part.
The Iraq War, playing a part in that stuff.
Yeah, so like, was that before he got fired? Or?
Yeah, before.
And has he said anything recently?
Yeah.
He had a statement, but it was very just like, he didn't specify anything about Fox.
He got to tiptoe around a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He did post something on his Twitter
but it wasn't like direct about Fox. Like it was very
To be political.
Yeah.
Did he also bring on RFK?
He did bring on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running for president. He brought him on just a week prior
to getting fired, right?
To getting fired,
so like basically, it was probably just a lot of momentum towards his like new voice in being like anti-establishment, you know what I mean, like all that stuff that probably just got him kicked off, right?
Gotta get rid of him.
That's the assumption, is it?
He is largely seen as the only voice that is anti-war on TV because there's really not anyone.
Damn.
There wasn't anyone out there being critical of like whether it's the war in Ukraine or even what Trump did with killing Soleimani. Remember, like he bombed that Iranian general. And Tucker was critical of that, and a lot of the media, if you remember the time, they were saying today's the day that Trump became president, even though he's already president for like a fucking year. But they're basically trying to like massage his dick a little bit and see, when you do war stuff, we give you good press.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating stuff. But there's also some word that maybe Zelensky met with the head of Fox, Rupert Murdoch, and maybe said something about how Tucker's critical of the Ukraine war, and I would like him off the air. So that's a rumor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
But I mean,
House of Cards.
the thing is, people are so focused on this Republican Democrat thing, but for us, I take the stance of more like there's establishment and anti-establishment. Establishment meaning people that are connected from old media, legacy media, all the Fox, MSNBC, all of them. They get the donors from the same people. Like, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. The same corporations are funding your channels, whether it be Pfizer, whether it be the military-industrial complex, and then they found CIA ops in the editorial room, in the top ranks as consultants in both Fox and fucking ABC, NBC, all these motherfuckers. So it's like
who they have on first. It's so interesting.
Exactly.
They have like John Brennan on, and they're like, "This is former CIA director going to tell us the truth about what's going on." And he's like, "Let me just real quick say, big shout out to CIA, my boys in Langley."
And they were told, and then Rupert Murdoch told fucking Tucker that he should be more like Bill O'Reilly, a war hawk, old school neocon.
Yeah.
Meaning like a Bush Republican.
Yes.
Someone that is more pro-war. But if you think about it, like Democrats or Republican, no one speaks out against the war until recently. We're like Tulsi Gabbard, she's a veteran, she's speaking out against the war. And
Ron Paul did, and he got called a cuckoo. He was called a cuckoo bananas.
Ron Paul, yeah, and then his son Rand Paul, I think they take that stance. So I don't know. It's an interesting time now because I never would have thought that we would see opposition against the military-industrial complex. Because the last president that mentioned that was Eisenhower, who he said be careful for the secret societies and military-industrial complex.
And JFK talked about secret societies too.
Yeah.
And then he got killed.
He did.
He got killed.
And RFK Jr. says to this day the CIA killed my uncle.
Isn't that? Didn't that come out?
Yeah, well, there's
Declassified.
they
files on it,
declassified some stuff about it, but there's really no confirmation, right?
Yep.
They talk around it.
Black bars all over those.
All I gotta say is RFK Jr. has got some fucking cojones for coming out and running for president after his whole fucking family got offed for saying the same shit he's saying now. I think he's got some balls.
He does. And we're gonna talk about him a little bit later.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
So shut the fuck up about him right now, please.
Yeah, no more RFK.
You know what? I used to not like Tucker.
You used to not like Tucker?
I used to not like Tucker because
I like Chris Tucker.
he was like a war hawk. Because he was a part of that media group that was pushing the war on Iraq. Like, he was a part of, all the...
We need freedom in Iraq stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because around the Bush administration, that's when I was like, wait, this makes no sense. Like, I thought we were going after Afghanistan, and I thought we were going after Osama bin Laden. Why are we pivoting to Iraq? And then people were talking about the oil, and then other people were like, no, it's not for the oil. It's not for the oil. We're just going there because, there's terrorists there. But when I looked into it, Iraq was one of the biggest anti-terrorist peoples in the region. Like, they were killing off terrorists. They were keeping them at bay. And I was just like...
They were not partnered with Al-Qaeda, yeah. They were killing them. Because they were Sunni, so they were against, the Al-Qaeda guys.
Yeah.
One of the craziest things, too, is that...
Sad.
One of the craziest things about the whole thing is that General Wesley Clark came out at the time. If you remember, he ran for president in 2004 against John Kerry, and they made sure he didn't get anywhere. But he came out and said, hey, right after the 9/11 attacks, he said they already were moving on. They knew they wanted to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And he said every week he picks up the phone and they want to go to another country. And he's like, we don't have any links to any of these. We don't know that they did any of this stuff. And he said they're already moving forward with plans to do all that stuff.
Damn.
So,
because at the time, I thought Democrats were anti-war, right? So I voted for John Kerry because I thought that if I vote for him, then we're gonna stop all this war because Republicans, they're just bloodthirsty animals. And then, Bush, he just loves his war, right?
And Cheney.
But then I found out all this shit about John Kerry and how much he fucking passed okay shit. And he was okay with a lot of war stuff. And I was like, well, if he
He
became president, then it would have been the same thing.
was Secretary of State under Obama, and they sure liked war a lot.
Yeah. And I had a bunch of friends in the military at the time, and I was just like, dude, it just sucks because, like, you're risking your lives, and we're told that we're fighting terrorism. But then you look at everything that's really going on, you're protecting the assets of the oligarchy. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's why I always get passionate about these topics, because I was bamboozled as well after 9/11. I really believed.
And you come from a military family.
Military family. I believed everything that the intelligence agencies were saying. I was like, Saddam has a fucking nuke.
We gotta get him.
Yeah, they got yellow cake uranium coming out of Niger. Remember that? That was a story, and they actually there's this guy who they basically ruined his reputation, and they outed his wife. Her name is Valerie Plame. They outed his wife to the media as a CIA asset and ruined her career because this guy named Joseph Wilson, I believe, he was a former State Department guy, and he told everyone, hey, like, this yellow cake in Nigeria stuff is bullshit. Like, that Saddam, I don't think Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. And they outed his wife, and this guy named Richard Armitage, who was an under deputy in the State Department, he leaked her name to the media.
Wow. As a scapegoat?
Yeah, just to sell her out. And so then she was out, and then she ended up like there was some controversy about it, but it's always controversy. It's never like nothing happens to these officials. Nobody goes to jail. Like Richard Armitage is a free man. Julian Assange isn't. So you gotta love it.
Kind of makes me sad.
But it is an interesting time though, because back then I felt hopeless. Now I feel like, wow, we're actually talking about this shit openly. There's media outlets talking about it. Tucker Carlson was challenging it. So I'm like, whoa, we're in an interesting time. Because could you have imagined like 2003, these kind of conversations happening in media?
And I would have been the biggest little bitch about it too. I would have been like, we gotta be there, man. We got to be there, because if we don't fight them there, they're gonna come here, dude. I thought all that shit. I believed everything there.
Of course.
Damn. Much to my shame, but I didn't do anything about it. I was a fucking kid. I'm just in school talking shit.
You're doing this, brother.